Ben Carson is a child of Motor City and was born during the height of America's auto boom. He grew up amid the smokestacks and the hustle and bustle of one of America's gilded industrial age. He grew up one of two sons to a single mother with only a third-grade education.
One of the things that I think my mother instilled in me and in my brother was a sense of responsibility. She had an incredibly difficult life herself. You know, one of 24 children, got married when she was 13, found out her husband was a bigamist, had only a third-grade education, but she never became a victim. And she never felt sorry for herself.
His mother stressed that education was the key for living a life on your own terms.
There was never any excuse that my brother or I could come up with that she would accept. She would always say, do you have a brain? And if the answer was yes, then you could have thought your way out of it. It doesn't matter what anybody else did. And I think that's probably the greatest thing she ever did for us.
Ultimately, after a series of troubling instances at school, Mrs. Carson limited their television viewing and made the boys read and write book reports on what they had read. Even though her reading ability was limited, she would always check their homework and mark it up with comments, using the exercise to hold them accountable, encouraging their progress.
You know, she didn't dictate what we had to read, so we could read anything we wanted. And, you know,
she didn't know what you were reading anyway.
She didn't know anyway. She put a check mark on it. But I learned so much, and I got to the point where I enjoyed it because even though we had never money for anything, between the covers of those books, I could go anywhere, I could be anybody, I could do anything. My horizons broadened tremendously within the space of a year and a half. I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class, much to the consternation of all those kids who used to tease me and call me dummy.
The habit of reading instead of watching television forced Carson to develop a vivid imagination. He would read books at a very early age and imagine what it was like to be in the world of the story. This ability to serve him much later in his role as a distinguished and celebrated neurosurgeon. After graduating from University of Michigan, Carson and his wife, Candy, moved to Baltimore, where Carson began his residency in neurosurgery. Early on, he was praised for his manual dexterity and three-dimensional visualization skills as a surgeon. His imagination about what is possible and his can-do attitude ultimately led him to take on some of the most challenging surgeries in history. Among his many firsts, Carson became famous for being the first neurosurgeon to separate twins conjoined at the head, in which both twins survived.
Later, these doctors from Germany were presenting the case all over because the mother could not accept the recommendations in Europe, which were that she would choose which twin she wanted to have and they would cut the other one off. And she loved them both. So when I explained to everybody this concept of getting to the critical stage, putting them on hypothermic arrest, cutting through the vessels, reconstructing the vessels, pumping the blood back in and starting heart stop, everybody said, you know what? That sounds like it might work.
He also resurrected and pioneered new approaches to hemispherectomy for intractable seizures among children.
What we would actually do in an operation is take out frontal lobe as depicted on this model, and as well as the parietal lobe. And additionally, one would remove, it would be nice if it were quite this simple, but then one has to remove the occipital lobe. And these models are not made for easy access, but there you see the temporal lobe and the occipital lobe. So if you put that all together, then you end up with basically a hemisphere.
His work on children included developing several innovative techniques to relieve craniofacial deformities. Ultimately, Dr. Carson became one of the youngest surgeons ever to become the head of a major neurosurgery division, becoming the director of pediatric neurosurgery at the age of 33. Under Dr. Carson's leadership, Johns Hopkins became the top-rated pediatric neurosurgery center in the nation.
It's the kind of job that is so gratifying all the time. But I would say the people that stick with us the longest are those that came feeling that there was no hope. They'd been told by other physicians that there was nothing that could be done. And they envisioned their child, who was the most precious person in the world to them, as dying within a matter of weeks or months. And seeing them walk out of the hospital with a child who's intact, who has the potential for a great future, And it's almost like a rebirth for the whole family.
It was at that point, in addition to his finely honed skills as a surgeon, Dr. Carson's leadership abilities began to also come in the spotlight.